Hey guys, what is up? It's Total Eclipse here, and today I am doing a guide on looting in the Dark Zone, and more specifically the character build that you should have in order to achieve everything you're aiming to set out to do. Now, running into the Dark Zone to loot without any prior thought is a dangerous idea, especially if you're planning on going in solo. Now, in the Dark Zone, your two biggest dangers to bear in mind is that A, other players may target you, and B, when extracting equipment, the AI will no doubt attack you the majority of the time. Now, this applies both to low level players and high level players, therefore it is important to build a character which has a combination of good damage, possibly good crowd control, health or sustain. Now, personally I prefer having a slightly higher damage output to my health, so generally speaking I will have my damage and health split at about 60% from attack damage, my DPS, 40% for my health. Now I must point out that DPS isn't everything. Don't just try and get up a gun as high as possible. Focus on having good stability, that way you can hit more shots and actually get that full DPS. If you get 20k DPS weapon, or for higher levels like 120k, 150k, there's not much point if your stability on that gun is so low that you can't hit any of the shots or can only hit 2 shots. So bear that in mind. Go trial and error on that weapon. Try it out in the open world first and do it so that it has good stability. That way you can rely on it when taking out enemies, and with the amount of health that you have, you'll be able to have a fair amount of sustain. Now, the only exception to this rule would be when you have a certain item pack, such as a percentage of health is healed per kill. For example, my current build, my level 30 build, I have, I think it's something like 27-28% health regen on each kill, which obviously makes me so easy to heal health that I choose to have a higher damage output, simply because if I can kill enemies quicker, it doesn't matter how low health I have, providing I can kill the enemy before my health drops. And the other exception would be when you're working as a team with other players. That way you can rely on each other and you don't have to worry about being killed so easily. Now, earlier on, some of you might have heard me say crowd control. This is very important if soloing in the Dark Zone. This primarily comes from your abilities. So, for example, I often go into the Dark Zone using a turret to distract my enemies, and this also stops them from flanking me. This is what I mean by crowd control. That way, I'm not going to be surrounded and killed much easier, or if I'm underground, I can switch on my fire breath flamethrower turret, and that way any enemies coming to attack me will set on fire or be stunned by the electric shock. Now, I also highly recommend for your second ability taking the supply station with you into the Dark Zone if you're on your own, and more specifically that's with the life support mod. That way if you drop it just before you're killed, you can regain your health and get brought back to life, which is so useful, and it has saved my life so many times. The only time when I wouldn't take the supply station is if, for example, I wasn't a high enough level, hadn't done enough missions to get the mods for that, in which case it's useful, but you'd probably be better going off with the first aid heal that you can also unlock straight away. But listen to my advice, or suffer the consequences. Now, on other notes to take into consideration, I have a few points. You don't need to fight every enemy. Don't feel you have to. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Quite often people do. If you need to go back and retreat. You don't want to lose everything that you found, which believe me, I have lost rare items so many times. I haven't lost a high-end item to this day yet, but I've only found about 2 of them, so that's not something to be too proud about. Now, don't go guns in blazing as well. There's no point. Have a look around, scout the area, and then see what enemies are around. I always focus the snipers, the engineers, or the grenadiers first. Almost said that wrong. As there's nothing worse than being pinned down by snipers or an enemy turret, and grenadiers, said it, or grenadiers, because the grenades forcing you to move into a different cover can really mess you up big time. Other important notes: watch your ammunition. There aren't as many ammo packs around the Dark Zone. In fact, you're going to be mainly relying on downed opponents to pick up a few rounds here and then, and we're talking 8 marksman rifle rounds at a time, or 20 assault rifle rounds. It's not a lot, and you will run out if you use it, so consider taking, I think there's a couple of talents that allow you to not use up a bullet if you get a headshot, or 50% likely to not use up a bullet if you take a headshot, which is what I use with my sniper rifle. Otherwise you're going to have to rely heavily on safe rooms or the checkpoints. The other point with the ammunition: don't take 2 weapons that are the same class. So don't take 2 sniper rifles, don't take 2 assault rifles, don't take 2 shotguns. Take 1 of each. So either a light machine gun and an assault rifle. I often go out with an assault rifle and a sniper rifle. You could go SMG shotgun if that's how you roll. But just make sure they're different classes, that way you have more ammunition. It doesn't come from the same pool. Now, one final point: be wary of other players, especially if they're grouped and you're on your own. With the new patch, you have to worry about this more so, simply because they've nerfed, is that the right word? They've made it so that if you go rogue, you get higher benefits. If you if you die while rogue, you lose less things, so people will be taking that risk a lot more often. Now if you see a couple of players extracting and they look like they're together, or they're not playing aggressively towards each other, consider going in, or just be very cautious. Avoid the whole instance, because so many times I have been killed extracting between 2 people who didn't look like they were together and actually were. So frustrating when that happens. And if you are worried, just move to another extraction zone. Go to the ones lower down. The lower the level, the less likely you're going to be killed by high level enemies or by other players. Now guys, thanks for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please smash that like zone. Hopefully smash that like zone. Let's stick with that. Smash that like zone button. Now hopefully this will help you survive in the Dark Zone, and with any luck you'll be able to grab some nice loot without dying, regardless of whether you're low or high level. There is loot still out there for you guys, and if you do want to see more and you haven't yet already, please subscribe. It would be great to have you as a member of the Total Eclipsian. I need to find a name for this. The Eclipsian Army, the Eclipsians, Total Eclipsians. No, you can't have my whole name. I can't take bros. Someone's definitely got a bro army, and I'm not saying whose. Anyway guys, thank you for watching. Obviously, one last point which I should have mentioned before. I will insert this beforehand. Get as many points into the scavenging stat as possible. Over 100 is a good amount for looting in the Dark Zone. It's kind of a standard now. And again guys, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.